Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the annual meeting of the Buckinghamshire and Milton Fire Authority. Our first item of business is to elect a chairman for 2024-25. Please, might I have nominations and seconders? Yes.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to nominate Councillor Simon Rouse.
Do you have a seconder for that? I see Councillor Charlotte.
Yeah, I'd like to second that.
Okay. Are there any other nominations for chairman of the authority? In which case, I declare Simon Rouse as the chairman of the Fire Authority for 24-25. Now do the seat swapping.
Thank you very much, and looking forward to working with you all for a further year, this year, on the authority as chairman. Can I move to the next item on the agenda, which is appointment of a vice chairman for 24-25? I'll ask for nomination for seconders. I'd like to propose Councillor Keith McLean. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor. Any other nominations? Vice chairman? No? In which case, declare Keith McLean duly elected as vice chairman. I think we'll give you a round of applause. Okay, thank you. Moving to apologies for absence.
Councillor Lambert.
I think Councillor Chapel is also on his way, late, so as well. That moves us to minutes of the previous meeting. I will take the exempt minutes later in the session, but can I ask for any questions as to accuracy in respect to the minutes? In which case we have to approve the record. Thank you. Okay, that moves us to matters arising from the previous meeting. So the first is FA 57, recommendations from committees, Executive Committee of the 8th of February 2024. And this was in relation to the HMIC FRS Buckinghamshire Fire and Rescue Service 2023 update. The Head of Technology Transformation and PMO advised that officers did continue to meet with the FDU on a regular basis. It should be captured in the report. And we ensure it was going forward. In terms of Milton Keynes City Council, various teams did meet with them, and the references to key partners were presented in the future. The chairman asked that perhaps in future updates it be noted who has been communicated to in terms of planning and engagement, and that's been actioned. FA 58 Treasury Management Strategy 24-25. The member asked for the real-term value of the money, and if members could see some benchmarking against similar organisations to see how the authority compares. The Director of Finance and Assets has advised that when a report is next report to the overview and audit committee look at the impact of inflation over the last 5 years on the value of the authority's investments. Is there anything you want to add to that? Very much. So that is all of the Councillor Sutton.
Yeah, what's the time you reading that report to that is quite important. What time is it?
Yes, sir.
I'll come to the July committee for next month.
So I should just say to members, it's not the easiest room for me to see, so do keep your hands up and I will make sure that we spot you if you put your hand up. So that means item number 6, disclosure of interest. Members declare any disclosable pecuniary interest they may have in any matter being considered which are not entered into the authority's register and not just disclose any interests. Are there any interests in members to declare?
And just for transparency with relation to 18, I'm employed by Cranfield University.
Thank you, that's duly noted. Okay, could I just ask, oh sorry, yeah. Could I ask you just angle, for the newer members, sorry, could I just ask you to angle your name, please, for me a little bit, so I can see your name. Apologies, thank you.
I'm employed by the Open University and also Milton Keynes University Hospital.
Thank you, that's noted. Any other interests? No? Okay, thank you. That moves us to Chairman's announcements. Can I firstly welcome the new members to the authority, Councillor Bailey, Councillor Banks, Councillor Khan. I think you're returning, aren't you? You were on as well briefly last year. Councillor O'Neill, and also Councillor Sullivan. I think you're returning as well, aren't you, Risa, from my previous stint? So welcome, everybody. Looking forward to working with you. I've just got two announcements just to share. The first is, as some members may be aware, our corporate planning manager, Stuart Gownlock, retired at the end of May after over 18 years of service with the fire service. Stuart was recognised for his outstanding contributions to the service by his receipt of the Chairman's Award in 2019 from my predecessor, Leslie Clark, ABE. Members may like to know that I wrote to Stuart on behalf of the authority to say thank you for all he'd done and for his important contributions during my time as chairman, for which I will always be grateful. And I know some of the members also wrote to Stuart, but place on record our thanks to Stuart and wish him well in his retirement.
We give them a round of applause.
Well, let's do that. Applause is good. Okay, the other answer I just want to say, so last week, myself, Louise and Mick attended the Fire Performance Oversight Group with the HMI and representatives from Home Office, National Fire Chiefs Council, LGA. I'm sure other places, there's a lot of them in the room. I have to say it was a very positive session, and particularly want to place on record my congratulations to Louise and Mick, who did a brilliant job of presenting the progress of the service. I think a couple of things that stood out to me from the feedback. One was a really clear recognition from our inspector, Roy Wilshire, of the focus and grip that he's seen in the service over the last few months in respect to the report. And he also talked about the self-awareness, increased self-awareness that he observed as well in the service. So it was a very positive response, and the progress that had been made was noted. Louise, representative, want to add?
Thank you. Yeah, just as Chair says, I think I'd like to place on record my thanks to the team, because it was very clear, and the HIC acknowledged the incredible amount of work that's gone on to focus and prioritise the work that we only need to do. So we're in a really good place. The letter that's coming from HMIC, I think, is not out until later on this week. But the progress I'm making is really good, and I see that as a really positive step forward.
Any questions on the Chairman's announcements? No? Okay, that moves us on to petitions. Have we received any petitions?
None, Chairman.
I don't know. The Milton Keynes people, if I turn this off, do I need to turn it off? Otherwise it doesn't go through. Thank you. So that moves us to item number 9, questions.
None, Chairman.
Just item number 10, membership of the authority. For members tonight, Greg.
Yes, thank you. I said no. By members of General Facts, couple of issues for items. First is the change of membership between Milton Keynes Civic Council and Buckinghamshire County Council for the year going forward 24-25. Members will note that in this year the membership is as follows: 11 members from Buckinghamshire County Council and 6 members from Milton Keynes City Council for the year 24-25, and to note that the membership from Buckinghamshire County Council is as follows: Adobag, Carroll, Chapel OBE, Ward, Say, Lambert, Rouse, Stutchbury, Sullivan and Walsh. Milton Keynes City Council, Councillors Bailey, Banks, Carr,
Can I just place as well, just for correction on the paper, that Councillor Sain also is OBE. That's what we happy to know. Thank you. That moves us on to committee matters. Recommendations for the authority to approve on page 7 to note. And then I'm going to ask Graham Britton to also read these nominations of executive committee and open audit.
Thank you, Chairman. The ordinary rules are set out on page 7 and they apply to the respective committees, the Executive Committee and the Open Audit Committee. Onto the Executive Committee, the nominations I received from the group leader are as follows: 4 members, Rouse, Clay, Hall and Walsh. And onto the Open Audit Committee, Bag, Carroll, Chapel, OBE and Say, OBE. Councillor O'Neill. And from the Labour group, Councillors Bailey and O'Neill. And onto the Open Audit Committee with Councillors Stutchbury and Khan. The ungrouped member, Councillor Sullivan will go on to the overview of the audit committee. And in terms of the Liberal Democrat appointments, Councillor Lambert is online, so we can do this in real time. Councillor Lambert, if you'd like to make your nominations.
The nominations are Councillor Exon for overview and audit, and myself and Councillor. My God, name's gone out of my head. How horrific is that?
Thanks. Councillor Banks, I think.
Thanks. Yes, thanks, Councillor Banks on the executive. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. We have to note that. Agreed. Thank you. That moves us on to the calendar of meetings for noting on page 7 or 8. To go through those, we happen to note those. Great. Thank you. That moves us on to item number 13, appointment of representatives to outside bodies. The recommendations to the authority to approve on page 8. Graham Britton to read out the nominations received.
Thank you, Chairman. If I take the appointment to representatives of outside bodies on block, I have the following nominations onto the Local Government Association Annual Conference, the Chairman and Vice Chairman. Onto the Local Government Association Fire Commission, a member, standing deputy, I have Chairman, Vice Chairman as standing deputy. The Local Government Association Annual Fire Conference, Chair, that's 2 members. I have the nominations.
The Chairman and Vice Chairman.
Thank you, Chair. Onto the Valley Fire Control Joint Committee, 2 members, Councillors Rouse and Walsh, and substitute members, Councillors Ford and McLean. There's a second to those proposals. Thank you. Are there any other proposals for those positions? There being no other proposals, appointment to Julie May, Chairman.
Thank you. That moves to item number 14, lead member responsibilities. This is the recommendations of the authority to approve, which are on page 9. To consider the allocation of lead member responsibilities and appoint members to these roles. Graham Britton to ask for nominations of eligible members, which need to be members of the executive committee.
Thank you, Chairman. As indicated, eligible members are members from the executive committee to be appointed onto the lead member roles. If I take those to the turn as chairman, nominations for appointment to the lead member role of service delivery protection and collaboration.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Simon.
I do that.
Are there any other nominations for those posts for members of the executive? There being none, that appointment is made. Next, moving on to the lead member role for people, equality, diversity and assurance.
Thanks, Councillor Hall.
Are there any other nominations for that position? There being none, that's being filled. The next is lead member role for finance and assets, information security and IT.
Thanks, Councillor Walsh.
It's a sorry, I thought
I think it was a pen as well.
Are there any other nominations for that position? There being none, that position is duly appointed to. Finally, lead member role, health and safety and corporate risk.
Thanks, Councillor McLean.
Thank you. Any other nominations for that post? There being none, that appointment is duly made, Chairman. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. That moves us on to the substantive agendas, part of the agenda, which is firstly item number 15, which is the 2020 and 25 corporate plan. So this is year 4, progress review and an update for the final year of the plan 2025. So for the self-explanatory. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Gregory.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm picking this up with the departure of Bureau Powers. I do my best to do justice. This is a review of progress made over the 4th year of the 5-year corporate plan that the authority approved at its annual meeting in June 2020. He sets out the programme for the remaining year of the plan through to the end of March 2025. Progress made during the 3rd year and the 4th year refresh were approved by the authority at its last annual meeting on the 14th of June 2023. In light of the progress made, officers have taken the opportunity to refresh the programme of activities that will be undertaken over the remaining year of the plan in pursuit of the authority's strategic objectives. Since the authority last received the plan, it has been updated to align with the medium-term financial plan approved by the Fire Authority at its February 2024 meeting, and that's set out on pages 45. The appendix is pages 39 and 40 of your agenda packs. The new promise and value structure is shown at page 7 of the appendix, which is 42 on your agenda packs, and the strategic objectives related to performance measures recently agreed by the Chief Fire Officer and the Authority Strategic Management Board set out at pages 9 to 10 to 5 of your agenda pack. The review of progress is in year 4 is at page 12 and 20, which is 5 in your agenda packs, and the summary project-wide status is at page 11, which is page 6 in your agenda pack. And we have seen that 10 items have been completed and of stream of business activity, and 14 carried over into the plan. As you may see, there are no items at red rag status. 8 are green, which means that they are on track, and 6 are amber, which means they are a little off track, but recoverable. The programme for year 5 is set out in section 9 of the plan, which in agenda pack numbering is page 61. Chair, unless anything I wish to draw members' attention to, I would endeavour to answer questions that they find.
Thank you. Any questions from members on this? Thank you. Councillor Stash.
Well, thank you very much for that. Just a point of theory.
We've been mic again.
No, I'm shade over there. You can hear me now. Just a point of question of theory. In your report today, you mentioned the gunning principles of and principles are quite key to the way the water goes. Knowing that we've got a heavy agenda and lots of things we've got to discuss, we're 100% sure our standing orders are in keeping with those principles, which is being able to have a quick time to consider a reform and being considering that the given not to take a response or decision. To say that our standing orders is quite recent, and I think we need to press our standing order to be able to actually proper scrutiny. It's limited, it's time spent, and there is a risk, as this is the right place, I think, on the general discuss it. And do you feel comfortable that we are abiding by the running principles in our standing orders? I probably think we are, but I think that, you know, levity and brevity are good things in scrutiny, and our standing orders probably been around a long time and need reviewing.
I mean, I should imagine that this featured in a later item, which is about the public consultation with the CRFP, and the gunning principles relate to if an authority is looking to make decisions or change of policy that requires consultation with the public. So it's talking about the interaction between the authority and members of the public. In terms of the interface with the public and authority meetings, which are set out in standing orders, they are compliant, in fact, in terms of the fact that the agenda is published, everything is put into the public domain, but they are compliant with the interface between the authority and the public in terms of the gunning principles. I'm entirely 100% comfortable that they are compliant in terms of that relationship to which the gunning principles apply.
Joel will return.
Thank you. Brevity and scrutiny is definitely a good thing. I know we both agree on that. Any other questions, comments on the paper? In which case, let's just offer one question. So I thought, firstly, really good paper. So thank you to Six Stewart, Garen Lock for his final act prior to departure. Just the one that caught my eye on page 55 of the report, 55 of Act 20 of the report. Could you just give us a bit of confidence, timelines on business continuity and resilience in terms of when we'll be in a position to move that forward, recognise there's a change of personnel, which was on, that's not really yet.
That falls under my portfolio currently, Chair. It's probably a little bit of a about the continuity of that role. Currently, we've got one officer set up into the role who's really gripped it in terms of looking at our current systems, which are currently mandronically based. I think part of going for the new role when it's permanent establishment will be to look to make that the processes a lot more smooth and a lot more used. It's a big piece of work for the incoming appointment or appointment made, but it's something that I'm very concerned.
Okay, thank you. We are being asked to the recommendations. The 2020 to 25 corporate plan, year 4 progress review and year 5 update be approved by the authority. We have to do so. Thank you very much. That moves us to item number 16, which is the community risk management plan. So obviously we are currently in the process of undertaking our community risk management plan. And for members that are new to the authority, this is our public facing plan, which sets out our priorities and how we intend to respond to those priorities. We brought forward the community risk management plan 18 months or so ago to start the process because we recognise there's been significant change as a result of things like the wildfire challenges we had summers ago and the HMI reports that we had. So we are doing this slightly earlier than before. Obviously, during the election period, we can't undertake some of the external consultation that we would have done, sort of slightly affected the timelines. But this is just an update in terms of where we're at. So I'll hand over to Mark, who's going to take us through.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. So as the Chairman said, this paper presents the Community Risk Management Plan 2025 to 2030, known as the CRMP, to be approved to go forward for consultation with the public, staff and partner organisations. Consultation will run for a 12-week period during July through to September. And as the Chairman said, due to the upcoming general election and period of heightened sensitivity, the earliest the start will commence will be the 8th of July. Previously known as the Public Safety Plan, this document reflects on the progress made over the past 5 years and looks ahead to the future. Detailed analysis of the evidence used to prepare the CRMP can be seen in Appendix 2, which are pages 143 to 272 of the Act, with the key points being summarised in the main document on pages 93 to 99 of the Appendix. Essentially, the CRMP aims to explain how the service plans to mitigate identified risks and improve community safety by aligning available resources with key objectives and utilising them in the most efficient way possible. It also reflects the service's updated promise to the public, core values and core behaviours. As well as considering the full assessment of risks, it also addresses the issues raised with the most recent HMIC FRS inspection report. The document details 3 strategic objectives supported by 3 strategic enablers. Strategies for each of these are embedded within this document to ensure they are fully aligned with the CRMP. The CRMP also contains details of the measures relevant to each objective and enabler so that performance can be tracked throughout the lifetime of the plan. Detailed plans for implementing the actions within each strategy will form the basis of our annual delivery plan, also known as a corporate plan, that will be presented to the current authority for approval at its meeting in February 2025. This document will be produced for this system to be externally design agency. Through the internal governance process, we have noted a number of typographical errors which we picked up along with any feedback from members today or the document's public consultation. While the whole document is subject to consultation, consultees are in particular being asked to provide responses to the proposed response standard and the resourcing proposals. The proposed response standard is that the first pump will, on average, arrive on the scene within 10 minutes for all incidents. In terms of the resources available to respond to incidents, the proposal set out in the document is to maintain the same number of whole-time and day-crew pumps as currently inserted, and review and optimise our on-call pumps and specialist appliances to ensure we can meet our risk to the response standard while looking for opportunity to improve efficiency and effectiveness. CRMP also references the changes being proposed to the automatic fire alarms policy, but noting it is separate, subject to a separate consultation under the current published payment plan. Just to add some gloss to this paper, last week, CFO Simon Tuffley and I had an informal meeting with our local FEU representative about the CRMP. They will, of course, be submitting a fully considered response as part of the formal consultation process, but we've already agreed with them a couple of amendments to this version before it goes out to public consultation. The first one of these is on page 62 of the document, which is on page 132 of your packs. As mentioned earlier, it states that during the period of the CRMP, we plan to maintain the same number of whole-time and day-period appliances. We've agreed with the representative, we'll amend this to say at least the same number, as depending on funding, it may be desirable to increase that number over the next 5 years. The other point is just to make it clear that on page 29 of the document, which is page 99 of your packs, obviously that's within the evidence base, it's kind of called risks, issues, and opportunities. So we just want to make very clear that we don't see the FE manifesto as a risk to the organisation, it's an opportunity. There's a lot of things they want within that manifesto, or what we want for our staff as well. We clearly want to work together on those. Just to give some reassurance around the CRMP, we asked, as part of our internal audit plan, Mazars, who support internal audit, to do some assurance work on the extent to which the CRMP meets the new fire standard, and also the extent it addresses the HMRC FRS comments about the previous public safety plan. So on the whole, there was substantial evidence to support that we've met all of those. There are a couple of areas that, due to time, we haven't yet been able to evidence. One of those is that we'll continue to evaluate the effectiveness and efficiency and delivery of the community risk management plan and organisational impact risk management decisions. And the other one is around the consultation with the communities. We're able to demonstrate what we've done so far in terms of the pre-consultation, but we haven't yet been able to demonstrate what we're going to do in the future. Although they did in their report note our plans to engage with the community around sessions focused around each fire station, around the youth engagement through the youth councils, and also through the short form surveys distributed through social media and in-person channels. One other area they highlighted, which will further develop the final version of the CRMP, was that HMRC FRS noted that while the service has done positive work to reduce risk, it is still unclear how all its core functions of prevention, protection, and response will work together to effectively further reduce risk. Mazars noted that although lots of work is being done, the CRMP doesn't yet fully articulate that. So we're going to make sure that's very clear in the final document, because as you're aware of the performance reports, the amount of work the response crews have done to support prevention and protection activity, particularly driving up the number of home fire safety effects, has been phenomenal over the last year to 18 months. So just make sure that's fully articulated in the document, how that all links together. Mazars also noted several positive aspects, and including noting that while the PSP outlined the service's old vision and strategic objectives, we found the CRMP provides a much clearer linked up storyline, stretching from the service's vision or promise through to the corresponding strategic objectives. CRMP further clarifies specific aims, risks and actions related to each strategy, which provides the reader with clearer ideas around the service's direction compared to the public safety plan. I think that's probably a good point to stop, and I'm happy to take any questions from members. Thank you.
All right, any questions from extra members?
Firstly, thank you for the recognition of the charter. I think that's important that we do integrate that into all of what we do, and I'd be interested in how that's going to be fitted into our planning to make sure that we recognise strong and to that. With the HMC, HMSC, the corporate unity, which is the guiding principle in the way that we're going to work towards improving and work whatever. When I read the report, it's quite a lengthy report, that be frank, and it's a very good report, and I thank you for that. It's clearly evident within the report that there's quite a lot of weight towards Milton Keynes to the top end, with some of the areas around flooding, around fires, around incidents, around that. And it's very key that we note that it's quite stark the difference between that and the certain part of the county. Buckinghamshire, ceremonious county, Buckinghamshire. I'm worried when I look further in the report that we're only at the principal stages of the development and Buckinghamshire development plan, and we are working on old information in respects to the Wickham district plan and the proposals in the Milton Keynes development plan. Now, all those things are unknowns to us, and that's not, I'm not saying that is, but I do think there's a risk that when we're doing this, we have to start modelling where the growth will take place, where we plan our services going forward. It might be not looking at the instance already between Milton Keynes and the north part of Buckinghamshire. We need to at some point come back and start doing some modelling on where that growth takes place, make our future plan of services that reflect the population and not the historical population. It looks like the evidence is going to change radically in the next 5 to 10 years, irrespective of the comments that you made about we're not going to have to discuss it fully more to the party. Yeah, right. There's reason. I think they're you know, they are really key dangers. I don't know what the thoughts are around that. If we get that wrong, get that modelling wrong, then we'll be in a position where we can't retrench from that. So what works do take place to make sure that we've got the purest data possible from Buckinghamshire Council and Milton Keynes Council to make sure we plan appropriately. And that could be confidential, and it could be just so that the officers can do their forward planning. If it isn't ready to be in the public domain, it isn't ready to be in the public domain. But we are in a high risk area here that we do not know for the next 5 or 10 years what that growth is going to be and where it's going to be. And if we do plan in the wrong way, we will be making decisions which we will regret for various reasons, which is demonstrated in this report by the amount of top-heavy Milton Keynes stroke north requirement there is in the service predictions. That's quite long, but it is quite a long report, and I hope you respect that has to be expressed that way, because we only have these limited opportunities to actually raise these questions, and they are big questions.
Yeah, I think just to unpack that a little bit, members, the way we do the modelling is based primarily on historic incidents. So it is really hard to know exactly where incidents may occur in the future with growth, because A, we don't know where that growth is going to be, and B, just because you're getting lots of new housing, for example, doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be where your risk is. So new housing tends to be a much kind of better quality, much from a fire point of view than older housing stock. Nevertheless, we do engage heavily with Milton Keynes City Council and Buckinghamshire Council around future plans. We've done that as part of this, and we'll continue to do that throughout the lifetime of the CRMP, because it is good to know where that growth is going to happen in terms of housing, what's planned for roadways, new roads built that may improve some of our response times. So yeah, it's a living and breathing thing. It's not we'll do it once and it gets down to 5 years. It's an active document. We're going to keep it up to date throughout the life of the plan, so that we've always got the best risk information available. And risk and uncertainty always go together. We've never predicted perfectly. We're not planning to move any of our stations, so we're not going to make decisions that are going to entrench us one way or the other. So from a planning point of view, I think we've got sufficient flexibility within our current footprint to address whichever way that risk may go. It's obviously something we're going to keep a close eye on.
Thank you. Councillor Rennie.
Thank you. I just have a question about response times. Just simply because there doesn't seem to be any context, so an average of 10 minutes for instance. It'd be really useful, I think, in the consultation if you explain where that is in terms of where we are now, nationally and nationally. Kind of because when you flick forward to rightly over to page 418, and obviously I like time of comparing after repairs, I don't know this yet. But the average attendance time to all instance is kind of 8:40 or 9 minutes. So if it is an increase, we should be sort of explaining that to people, just so it's really clear and we're not hiding anything in the consultations and give people the opportunity to talk about that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Now you are comparing like for like there, so that is kind of the response times at the moment. We're saying within 10 minutes. This is an area we had a lot of debate around, is what is a good response time? Is it 8 minutes 30? Is it 9 minutes? Is it 10 minutes? The 10 minutes is based on the initial public consultation we did, and that's what the public told us they would expect on average 10 minutes. So we're not saying we'll take the full 10 minutes, obviously we'll get there quicker, but yeah, we can provide context of the final version. We'll explore that more as part of the public consultation as well.
Councillor Khan.
Thank you, Chair. My question related to growth. As you mentioned, the housing is an infrastructure growing across Buckinghamshire and Milton Keynes. I just want to factor on how is that going to be feasibility in coming years, in the next 10 years, and how the finance will be placing.
So in terms of financing, obviously the growth will go into the council tax base. So about 70% of our revenue at the moment comes from council tax. There's about 30% from business rates and other grants and stuff like that. So in terms of funding, actually housing growth has a positive impact on the finances of the authority. As I mentioned earlier, more houses doesn't necessarily mean more risk. It depends what kind of housing it is. But we kind of noted actually within Milton Keynes City Council, for example, plans for higher rise, which may or may not be riskier. It should be design engineered that all the safety built into the building, but we're aware of actually many different resources to respond to that. So those kind of forecasts for housing growth, again, it's something we look at with the councils, what their plans are, so we can put into a medium-term financial plan as to how much the base will grow over the kind of period of medium term.
Come back on that, Chair. Yes, so thank you. As you probably can agree on that, City Council will go growth of development houses across our city, probably bigger than some of our neighbouring Buckinghamshire towns. So is that mean more finance tax are going to increase in our way in Milton City Council?
Because we serve Buckinghamshire and Milton Keynes, that's spread across the whole of it. They wouldn't necessarily say that bit of precept is Milton Keynes, that bit of precept is Buckinghamshire. It goes into the kind of the finances of the authority as the whole, and we allocate it according to risk rather than where the funding came from.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Babe.
Thank you. I noted in the pesto analysis an indication that there's a council risk concern, and obviously that the health of your staff is absolutely paramount in the service. I wondered whether what the nature of the gaps were in the gap analysis that was mentioned, and whether there was an opportunity to act quicker on some of these than the 25 for 13.
Absolutely, and I mentioned the FPU manifesto earlier, and that's one of their key concerns is around contaminant risk. We're already doing lots of work, so it's not something we're going to wait to do and spread over the 5 years. We're doing that already, and it's something we'll continue to do. So we're very kind of careful about voting on stations. Anyone who's been to the new blue light hub will know that was designed with that in mind. So when they come back from the job, it goes from the dirty areas to the clean areas. There's a really clear segregation. Our health and safety team are they do regular audits on all our stations to make sure that their kind of segregation is there, all the signage is there, clear distinction between clean and dirty areas. And it's something we continue to keep an eye on, and anything we can do with in terms of new technologies. So for example, we joined the new national PPE contract, which is a managed service, because it's now gold rather than blue. You can see the contamination much more clearly. They get much more regular washing of their kit. So there's all sorts of things. It is something we're very keen on, obviously, because health and safety is kind of our #1 priority. So yeah, it's definitely not something we're going to say we'll do in year 2030. It's something we're doing now and have a very keen focus on.
Yeah, just to add to that, to give members some assurance, I chair our health and safety committee, and Councillor Holt did sit on that, and I understand in the general item on that committee, and the Fire Guys Union are also represented on that committee, and we're also represented at a regional and a national level on concern as well. So it's something that's really high up on our agenda. Let's give some assurance.
Any other questions? Because I'm in a good mood today, Councillor Sturtry, you have a second go.
Glad you're in a good mood. I'm always in a good mood. If you go to work your way through, it's rewarding to see in the report that we are putting enough positivity around the law, the qualities and diversity in that in there. I think that this is going to be key in the way we succeed going forward, especially when you look at, Chairman, the historical difficulties we have to improve the diversity of service going forward. Now, for yourself, where do we feel we are heading with that? As the charts that we have are historical, and there's reasons why they are where they are, and how are we going to make sure that the hierarchy best reflects population going forward. And what we can't do is prejudice present employees for where we are today, because there's an historical problem there, and it's nothing to do with not wanting to be diverse. It's to do with the fact that this is going to take some time to work out. I think it's important that we explain that. Really important we explain that this is a moving piece. Because I am encouraged with the apprenticeship system, and I looked at the people who've got an apprenticeship, and that is how we're moving going forward. That's a very positive story that we could say, and how we express that in everything we do and say, to make sure that we're aware that that is actually happening. I think it's key, because if we show that it's happening, we can demonstrate it's happening. That way, we're more likely to succeed than if we just occasionally bring it up. You know, and that's why I'm looking at it.
Sure, but I think actually, Councillor Stuffy, is one main point. I think we should come back to the next agenda item on the positive action approach, where I think there's some good bits for us to just talk about and reflect on that. I think it is an important point, and item number 17, I think we'll have a good chance to get into that. Just across the class, I'm going to bring this close. Just one. So 2 points. Firstly, I know officers have done a huge amount to reflect on the learning from the previous public safety plan and the issues that created for us. So I think you've done a really good job in getting us to where we get to. Clearly, the next phase is I think some really helpful suggestions from members about how to position it with the public, which we should absolutely make sure we do. Just going back to Councillor Stutchbury's first point, I do think that the text from the public safety plan, and one of the reasons why we brought it forward was that it wasn't fit for purpose because of some of the changes to the external environment. And so I think it's a good test for us all the way through this process to make sure that it is leaving us sufficient agility to respond. And I think particularly when we get into the detail of the response and resilience model, I think it's an important point to stress we aren't going to do anything with stations, and that I think is important that the understands. But I think we do just need to test ourselves, that we are giving ourselves enough room for manoeuvre over a 5-year period. So we can ask officers to feed that point was a well made one. We can ask members, we're being asked to approve the community risk management plan. So it's quite such a big set of papers that we didn't need to approves the community risk management plan 2025-30 for consultation with the public, staff and partner organisations. We haven't to do so. That moves us on to item 17, the positive action programme review 2024 and policy statement. Councillor Adair.
I just want to say that this has been a very positive way forward. The staff been very proactive, and what I have come to appreciate about the staff is the love for the community. The fact that everything that we do is fashioned around it. The safety of the people, even in the appointment, is all about the safety of the people, the community we serve, and how they respond to us. So for me, that is good. And coming from a nursing background, just makes a difference to see that the staff do actually believe and work towards that. So I just want to say thank you to Matt, to Mick, and to our, our officer, Louise, but also to our chairman, whose lead has to be taken into consideration all the time, despite the differences we have, even as a group. But that is very important. When the lead is about the people and the staff, it goes a long way. So I just want to, make that is comes across. So on this, the recommendations are there. I'm not one for, reiterating and reading out things. So, but I will say that I believe that we should, note this recommendation and approve it, stated in the document, if that is okay.
Holly Finch is the Station Command for HR Projects.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm here today to present a review of the Positive Action Programme. This was run to support applicants during the most recent whole-time recruitment campaign. HMI CFRS report for Buckinghamshire Fire and Rescue Service, which was published in October 2023, identified causes for concern. One of these related to equality, diversity and inclusion. The report stating we need to be more ambitious in its efforts to attract a more diverse workforce that better reflects the community it serves. The success of the positive action programme undertaken is demonstrated in the makeup of the successful candidates who due to start with us in September 24, 5 females and 7 males, of which 7 of the 10 who attended the interview workshop secured a role within the Buckinghamshire Fire and Rescue Service. I seek approval for point 1, Appendix 6, a positive action policy statement with the subsequent points for noting. Thank you for your time, and I'm open to any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions on the policy? Councillor Studge.
Yeah, again, thank you very much for the office for doing the work on support. The objectives of the report are laudable. Where I wish to expand on questions, we are aware of the HMRC report, which is, as I said earlier, the guiding principles where we're going to work towards it. We also mentioned earlier the service charter and public safety plan, which is mentioned in your report. What I'm unclear is, and I'd like to think that the security and good working practice, so that the workforce are aware that how we better the fire service charter into everything we do, so that it is highlighted when we do a change. But it's because of the fire service charter, and we're doing that because of that, and the public safety follows very much along the same lines. If we just mention it, say, we don't demonstrate that we're actually using that good body of work that's done by our workforce, how we can improve public safety and their safety, we'll be valuing each other. So I think we would be factoring that into reports to show that when we've done a change, it comes in and we can demonstrate that. We can discuss that we've done that, and we can move on. But it's got quite wide-ranging demands, and they're all good demands. But we need to show that we're actually taking it seriously to build up the confidence between ourselves here and our workforce, to make sure that they are reassured that we are taking their well-made concerns forward.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I just clarify, just so we all make sure we're talking about the same thing? Are you referring to the Fire Service Charter? Are you referring to the FBU manifesto?
Absolutely correct.
Okay.
I'm reflecting.
No, it's fine. I just want to make sure we're looking at different things.
No, that's fine. You're absolutely chair. I'm very grateful for the question.
So, thank you. So, just in terms of the FBU manifesto, and then I'll probably hand back to Ollie and Charlie and maybe else. So, I think obviously we invited the FBU to present the manifesto to us. I want to say at the December meeting, which I thought was a very productive meeting, and certainly I think I said, and I know the members said, there's a vast majority of that manifesto we all agree with, and I think there were some very good recommendations and ideas, and certainly in the local conversations that Louise, Nick and I've had with the FBU, we've certainly said that we want to try and work on as many of those. It's also true there are some things that we won't agree on, because there are some parts of that manifesto where there will be some differences of opinion, but the vast majority of it, certainly in terms of the workforce and etc., I know we agree with. And I think the point that we should be constantly making sure that we're engaging with the FBU and making sure that we're showing progress, I think is a well-made point, and I know that officers are doing that. So again, if we can just make sure in the reports that we're noting that we've done that with the FBU, which I know we're doing.
Just slightly, you said that we won't agree on. We need to actually discuss why we wouldn't be agreeing on this. As well as doing the other thing, because moving past isn't good relations. We have to actually know why we're saying that, and we have to discuss that in some brevity from them, because I might not agree with the tenure where it is, quite probably. Quite right to disagree.
Thank you. Councillor Khan.
Thank you, Chair. My question is more about equality, diversity, inclusion, inclusion. In terms of recruitment from people across Buckinghamshire and engaging with the community, trying to get people from different backgrounds to come and join the force, what action is there? I know your report saying here, identify service should be more promoting fairness and diversity. I find it slightly difficult of hearing fairness in terms of recruiting and officers from different backgrounds and approaching them different way, trying to recruit them coming into the force. And what action is taken by Buckinghamshire Authority in order to recruit those persons?
Are you going to say that?
Yeah, so one of the actions that's come out this year is all of our service delivery areas, so our 9 stations are having a layer of demographic data. So we're proportioning some of our work based on the demographic of communities within those service delivery areas. Those stations are also best placed to know those areas because they work there. So we're starting to see some positive action programs rolled out across the 9 service delivery areas.
I think, Ollie, as well, it's fair to put some onus on us as members of the authority that we should be supporting you in the service where we know our local communities to connect to. And so I think, again, standing as all members, is we should be helping support on things like Have a Go events, which are put on social media promoting the recruitment events that are done. So I think that, don't be afraid to put onus on us as well to support. Does that answer the question, Councillor?
Thanks very much.
Yeah, Councillor.
Thank you. I thought it was a really good paper, really positive, and definitely all moving in the right direction. So that was effective. The only question I had really was around what we're doing to kind of keep people once we get them. Obviously, when you look at the item right back around staff turnover, it's amber, and it'd be really lovely to kind of break down and understand, is it women and BAME people that we're losing, or actually are we really good at holding them once we get them, and whether that's another piece of work that needs to happen.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, so there's a lot of work that's going in the background. So obviously from the Inspectorate ED&I action plan, there's lots of actions on there. I know Anne-Marie is going to be going through that kind of later on. One, we had a cultural survey where we are asking our employees for their opinions. We're going out and doing ED&I station visits. I think, sorry, I need to turn away from it. So in terms of the actions in the action plan, we are working through making sure that actually we are retaining the employees that we have. There is lots of work also going on in terms of our facilities. There have been changes to, for example, Newport Pagnell with the male and female facilities there. So it's not just about the positive action and bringing people into the organisation, it's about working with the employees that are part of our organisation as well. Part of the work that we have done is we have re-looked at the work of the ED&I group. So, for example, we are just about to change the makeup of the groups. So we're going to, rather than the ED&I group, we're splitting it into 2 areas. So one of those will be a strategic group called the Culture Board to really drive forward all of the ED&I work. And the other areas are going to be to set up people networks and staff networks. We have a people and culture officer who is starting with us on Monday, the 17th. So that was as part of the growth bid process. The person who's starting with us has got a police background and so is very kind of well versed in emergency services and is looking forward to joining us in fire. There are lots of other areas, but if anybody's got questions, I can answer them.
It'd be really great to have a look at that EDI. I have a background in EDI, so I'm always interested.
We would really welcome that. Thank you.
Fantastic.
It was interesting to see the data in relation to the selection process. I was wondering if there was any learning to be had from the exclusions at each point. For example, is there any potential bias in the online assessment? And I also wondered what the diversity of the interview panel was and whether they had any unconscious bias.
There is a review of all of our selection processes from the application phase, and accessibility of our application phases, and that report will be going to SMB for noting and approval. I can't really answer the question in terms of the makeup of the interview panel. It was diverse. There was support services and operational with a range of female and male, but I don't believe they've had any training on bias.
Thank you, Councillor. Thanks for that question. Just to build on that point. We are rolling out at the moment, the process of rolling out the development and assessment pathway, a new one. And part of that is to look at the way that we assess staff through the assessment processes. So we're looking to pull upon a more diverse group to be included within that category of assessors. And we're building a new framework in terms of how we assess against criteria in a different way. So it's very much an area of development for the service, and we're quite excited about what's happening there. But it's very much work in progress, and hopefully we'll be ready for our next round of internal assessments later on this year.
Any other questions? No, in which case, we are being asked to approve the positive action policy statement, Appendix 6. Being asked to note for training programs for underrepresented groups, which will form part of recruitment, feature recruitment campaigns. Program to keep attendees if unsuccessful for the current wholesale campaign, engage for future opportunities being explored, and all essential joining criteria being reviewed, recommendations, risks presented to the future and for approval. We'll be happy to both approve the policy action statement and note the rest. Thank you very much. Moves on to training needs analysis, item number 18. Charlotte.
Thank you very much again. Similar to my previous comment, I'm happy to pick up on the questions that colleagues have raised, and I can assure you that a lot of analysis to go into the process and processing, particularly with the staff. So looking at where we are, the training needs analysis. Using the staff group that Andy referred to earlier on. So all these do come into play, and I know that having conversation with Mark as well, they've looked at making sure we're planning well ahead when it comes to our training analysis, and making sure that we therefore are on board with what we need prior, so that we are on top of what we're doing for our staff and the authority. So on that part, I'll be handing over to the officer to lead us and take us on this.
Are you talking about that? Yes, I'm on the screen, I think.
Nice, yeah. Thank you, Anna.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to present this paper to you this morning. So this report provides an overview on the authority's TNA process, outcomes, and the rationale for requesting members to approve funding of £190,000 for additional training this year via the Transformation Reserve. I've provided a bit of background on what the TNA process is and the training strategy group, particularly for new members who may not be familiar with this. But the services TNA collates the staff training requirements annually and is monitored quarterly by the training strategy group. The TNA is then translated into prioritised learning programmes, which have been submitted by department managers and is approved by the training strategy group and scrutinised to ensure alignment with business priorities, business continuity succession plans and approved budgets. Within the TNA submissions, managers are asked to assess the priority level of the training requests and are reminded that there is one budget that funds all training for all staff across the organisation, and that it is increasingly coming under pressure, particularly with the increase in prices, and therefore they must ensure any training requested is role critical only. The base budget for all staff training is £260,000. This has increased this year by £30,000 to compensate for rising inflation over the last 2 years. Appendix B provides a summary of the training spend for 2023-24. It is noted that there was a slight overspending this year, and the amount of training originally requested by managers at the beginning of the year was in excess of 338,000 and was managed by the training strategy group to ensure the training procured was within the set budget. It's worth noting that the authority continues to demonstrate efficiencies through the use of apprenticeships and utilising the government levy, with a levy spend of over 96,000 in 2023-24. Also, due to being effective in fully utilising the levy, the organisation is now benefiting from co-funding arrangements with the Department of Education, where they fund 95% of apprenticeship costs and the organisation funds the other 5%. This offers training in various departments for new starters, such as firefighters and IT, alongside upskilling existing staff in marketing, fire safety, and leadership, all contributing to retention. The Organisational Development Department have secured a transfer of levy arrangement with Santander, one of Milton Keynes' largest employers, to fund the enrolment of 3 members of staff on apprenticeships with Cranfield, and Santander have transferred the full levy cost to fund this. Appendix C provides the overview of the TNA request received for 24-25, the values and how they were broken down into priorities. This year, over £499,000 worth of training requests were received as part of the TNA process and assessed against the organisational priorities and the base budget of £260,000. A number of requests were deemed as not business as usual by the Training Strategy Group. However, by the group are considered as requiring investment in order to progress organisational priorities and have a clear link to the 2024-25 delivery plan, and will directly impact crewing, pump availability, operational preparedness and staff competence. It is these that form the basis of this request to members for approval to fund via the Transformation Reserve. As of the 31st of March 2024, the Transformation Reserve has a balance of over 3.2 million. Appendix A also details the work in progress to mitigate the need for additional funding for training in the future. This includes organisational development working closely with finance to review how the TNA is assessed and allocated against the annual budget, and to see if there is potential to use a zero-based budget approach where the TNA is compiled first and then the budget allocated against it, instead of the other way around. The timings of the TNA submission and collation are also being reviewed. Historically, this has been aligned to the financial year to ensure all training is procured and developed and delivered within the financial year from which it is being funded. This means that historically, the TNA submissions are typically due by the end of February, which doesn't align with our current appraisal process and any training requirements identified either at the end of year or objective setting appraisal stage. Finally, in addition, the Strategic Management Board has approved establishing a People Oversight Board chaired by the new Director of HR and OD. The People Oversight Board will bring together all people-related matters into one place. It will enable improved understanding of people measures, monitoring performance against them, and translating them into informed people priorities, which will enable the authority to be proactive when it's recruitment and training requirements, and plan capacity and cost accordingly. It is recommended to members that the Training Needs Analysis Overview and provision approved by the Training Strategy Group for 2024-25 be noted. Also, that the funding for the additional training for 2024-2025 via the Transformation Reserve be approved, and that the work in progress contained within Appendix A to mitigate the need for additional funding in the future also be noted. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions from members? Councillor Slattery.
Firstly, thank you very much for the report, and the word upskilling and not needing to make any provision in the future seems quite contradictory. I don't think we know what the training needs would be in changing society. We cannot predict that there won't be a need to do training. We live in the climate's changing 100% every day. We're not having summer this summer, we didn't have a winter. And we have flooding, we have stuff. Training could change. I think that it would be interesting to see the analysis on where we believe that by rightfully budgeting this year to increase the training, which is about 30,000 increase, which is right for we agreed, how we can then make an assumption we won't need that for the prospective years, because the environment's changing, the population's growing, and as your earlier reports show, the risks on are huge. We've got flooding, we've got accidents and risks in the reports earlier, and Milton Keynes are rising on, we've got all those things going on. How we make an assumption of training, because training is key in making sure our workforce is resilient. So I'm not sure how the two things contradict each other. We look, we're agreeing money today and saying we won't be here tomorrow, and I can't see where the basis to making that statement is.
Mark's going to take that one, Anna.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think in terms of the money, what we're saying is we're not going to make any unplanned use of reserves to fund it. We're definitely not saying we don't need more money in the future. What we're saying is, and what Councillor Doe said, what Anna just said, is we're going to make the planning process a lot better. At the moment, it's a little bit back to front, so we have a lot of money, and we try and cram all our training into that. We're going to flip it and say, this is all the training we think we need, this is the money that we're going to need to pay for it. And because we have invested in our staff and our training, we're starting to see the benefits of that. So with a better skilled workforce, we're starting to have a higher number on our establishment. We're starting to see our bank costs come down substantially. So that potentially frees up as part of the zero-based budget to invest even more in training to get even more of these benefits that Anna started to articulate. So I envisage we'll spend more money on training in the future. It will be planned rather than to continent and say, can we have some money from reserves to fund that, please? So just to give you that reassurance, we see training as absolutely key, and we want to invest as much in training as we can.
Thank you very much for the reassurance.
Any other questions, comments? No, in which case, it's recommended that members approve the training needs analysis overview and provision provided by the training strategy for 2024 be noted, sorry about that wrong around. The funding for the additional training requirements 24-25 via the transformation reserve be approved. And the work in progress in Appendix A to align the approval of the training needs analysis and budget setting processes was noted and have to do so. Approved. Thank you very much. Moves us on to item number 19, the updated code of conduct. Councillor.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think I'm just going to hand this straight over to you because we've got a lot on the back that is leading us to the code of conduct.
So I think we've got Faye online this time for this one. Hello, Faye.
Hi, thank you. So today I'm presenting the updated Code of Conduct. And the Services Code of Conduct provides employees with an understanding of the standards expected when performing duties as an employee and guides behaviour. And it places an obligation on all employees to take responsibility for their own conduct. The Code of Conduct supports the overarching employment-related policies and is compliant with the strategic direction of the service on employment-related policy matters, and also supports the delivery of corporate objectives. To ensure the Code of Conduct remains fully aligned with the service's key strategic documents, following the launch of the service's new promise, values and behaviour in April 24, an in-year review of the Code of Conduct was undertaken and the document updated. The purpose of presenting this updated Code of Conduct today, as detailed in Appendix 1, is for approval for publication. In the main, the amendments are in Section 3 of the document. Therefore, consultation has not been required for this purpose, but rather for noting as part of the government's process. It's also been presented to the various internal governance boards and obviously today. Section 3 has been amended to remove reference to the service's vision and previous values and now details the service's promise to the public and our people, updated core values and behaviours, and is more compliant with our current processes. And with regards to the core code of ethics, this part of the Section 3 has been slightly amended with a link added to the core code of ethics and the 5 bullet points rather than the wording incorporated within the document. Thank you.
Any questions, comments from members?
Yeah, thank you for the report. Was this done in consultation with the FT's view with the sense that it's a change of vision? And on item 11, you put political neutrality, or was worried with things for neutrality. And you say that they must do that. So you say it's changed, and I'm presuming the changes are in line with known employment law and the Equalities Act. But it hasn't saying there that there was a heavy conversation about this code of conduct. Unless I missed this, I apologise, with the FBI. I think that's really a mistake if you haven't done that. Good working relations are achieved and lost through imposition of something which is done through not consent but for agreement. And if that hasn't taken place, I think that's a real bad mistake. If there are changes here, they should be done through negotiation. We have an employment law for this country which will recognise trade unions and their rights. So if it hasn't been done, that's really quite wrong. In my personal opinion, might be disagreement, but I still think it's worth saying. I think that should take place. If it did, I apologise, in which case, thank you for telling me that actually took place.
So just going to make two observations. Okay, I can make that assessment. Firstly, just on the Equality Act point, I think that's where the equality impact assessments that are in all our papers are really important. If we do go through that, you can certainly, I know, the members quite understand. I just think, just in terms of the phrase of the question, I think we should ask the question rather than assume that something has to happen. But Mick, do you want to cover it first?
Yeah, just to come in on that, if you go to section 25, which is page 25 and 359 of the pack, so there that this document has been presented to the JCF, which is the Joint Consultation Forum, which the FPU are heavily represented on. So they have been forwarded on this document. The changes are just bringing in a new vision and values that are sort of promised, which again they were consulted on in a different forum as well.
I find that they just said the need to consult wasn't necessary, but the words were used in the report presented, which
I think that was the broader organisation that balanced through the consultation forum.
I'm very pleased, Nick. Thank you very much for reassuring me.
And can I just one other point, which maybe for Graham, I'm not aware that this does change terms and conditions for employees, so just clarify.
I'd actually defer to Graham.
Okay. Can you just confirm this isn't changing terms and conditions for members, sorry, for members, for employees?
No, the main changes within this document are just making reference to the new values and behaviours. So there are no significant changes within the document.
Thank you. Any other comments from members? Okay, in which case, we're being asked to approve the code of conduct as detailed in Appendix 1 of the publication. Let's do so. Thank you very much. That moves us on to item number 20, the serious violence duty. So compliance with the serious violence duty is a statutory requirement for the authorities of a specified partner agency. I think I've got Joe Cook online who's going to present this. Hi, Joe.
Good morning. The update being provided today is on the cover paper and slides on pages 363 to 378 of your pack and is brought to you for noting. I will refer to the page numbers in your pack that the slides are on as I move through. Page 367. The serious violence duty had its origins in the government's strategic approach to cutting crime, homicide, serious violence and neighbourhood crime, exposing and ending the hidden harms and building capability and capacity to deal with fraud and online crime under the Levelling Up agenda. This led to the Police Crime Sentencing and Courts Act in 2022, with the National Fire Chiefs Council contributing to the development of the fire services role within the subsequent statutory guidance. On page 368, the definition of serious violence was agreed by local partners. It is not a national definition. It is agreed within the Thames Valley Violence Prevention Partnership, and is that the serious violence includes specific types of recorded crime, such as homicide, GBH, incidents that involve a knife, and areas of criminality where serious violence or its threat is inherent, such as that of county lines drug dealing. Whilst domestic abuse-related offences account for a large proportion of serious violence offences, they are not dealt with under the serious violence strategies. Both councils in our area have separate domestic abuse strategies and boards and deliver their statutory duties under the Domestic Abuse Act 2021. 369. The serious violence duty places obligations on community safety partnerships to work together to prevent serious violence by or against people under the age of 25. We fulfil our work within this obligation through partnership with Safer Bucks and also Safer MK. Safer Bucks is attended by myself and Safer MK by Area Commander Paul Scaines. Page 369. In terms of serious violence, you'll see that that those community safety partnerships have a specified role and they contribute towards developing statutory guidance and delivery pathways. However, we are not the lead authority on those. We work in partnership with and to support the actions of the two CSPs, so community safety partnerships. 370. Alongside fire, you have police, justice, health and local authorities as lead partners, and the prison service and education being brought in as and when required to work together. On the right-hand side of that slide, you will also note that the core outcomes from the duty are that there would be a reduction in hospital admission for assault with a knife or sharp object, a reduction in knife-enabled serious violence, especially amongst those aged 25 or under, and a reduction in all homicides. Specified authorities are mandated to collaborate through this across their organisational boundaries to improve the information and data sharing procedures. And this has also led to some new data sets being developed, which we receive through our work with the community safety partnerships. Page 371. As we moved towards the serious violence duty being enacted, an overarching strategic needs analysis was developed. Once that the duty became live, each council was then required to produce a strategic needs analysis, which was approved by the Home Office prior to its publication. Initially, violence reduction coordinators were funded by the Violence Reduction Unit, now termed Violence Prevention Partnership. However, there is a phased budget for those that reduces up to March 2025, and with an election outcome due, it is unknown if or how that funding will continue after that date. The violence reduction coordinators work with us to ensure that all agencies are cited on and involved in work related to the duty. 372. So how is our service involved? The activity at a local level has reporting lines into our community safety partnerships, Safer MK and Safer Bucks, each of which have priority plans. So for example, in the Bucks area, there are 5 priority plans, one of which is serious violence. It's notable that the serious violence duty also led to amendments of the Crime and Disorder Act, which were required to bring serious violence under the role of the community safety partnerships. On 373, as we go through the statutory guidance, there are 56 references to the role of the Fire and Rescue Service. However, they are summarised within the paragraphs on the next few slides, which are paragraphs 304 to 308. And if you want to look at the statutory guidance, they are from page 98 of that. I'm not going to read all of the paragraphs out, but I will summarise some of the work that we've been doing over the last year and how we evidence that we are attaining against this. So from 304, we work with our community safety partnerships, engage in areas of deprivation, so within the localist agenda, to support community cohesion and vulnerable communities. We've also been supporting local initiatives to reduce antisocial behaviour and support community cohesion, such as Op Desktop, which is occurring in the Milton Keynes area. For anyone who isn't aware of that one, it is an operation that's running around the Milton Keynes train station area to deal with issues there. On the next slide, page 374, we are working to ensure that we have a representative who is cited on all elements related to the serious violence duty by having a SPOC, a single point of contact, which is myself. With that, we have attended the Home Office launch of serious violence duty in April of last year, alongside the LGA, Home Office, Youth Endowment Fund, National Fire Chief Council and police, and looked at model activities that could be used to support us in developing our response to this duty. We participated in the Crest Advisory bespoke local support sessions to ensure that we understood all requirements placed upon us, and we have planned attendance at the National Fire Chief Council's Serious Violence Learning Seminar in September of this year. 375. For the collaboration element, we work strongly with our partners, so we supported the development of the initial Thames Valley Violence Reduction Unit Hospital Navigator Scheme that was rolled out at Milton Keynes University Hospital. After that model was developed, which was based on one by Red Thread and also used in Scotland, that scheme then rolled out to other hospitals in our area and is one where it is key to identifying at an early point people who have been involved in serious violence as the victims of it and trying to get a support mechanism in place as soon as you can. We worked with council partners to prepare the forthcoming JTI for serious violence. Some of you may be aware that Buckinghamshire had their JTI in January, so that's a Joint Targeted Area Inspection, and Milton Keynes are preparing for that. The Director of Children's Social Care within Buckinghamshire has offered his support to us for our preparations for the Milton Keynes area work. We also participate in working with other specified partners to reduce recidivism through the Domestic Abuse Perpetrator Programme delivered by Cranstown. That was a government-funded initiative across our service area, and it looks at the reducing of reoffending by domestic abuse perpetrators under a programme called DRIVE. We participate in the Buckinghamshire Serious Violence Partnership, and then moving on to 376. From a trauma-informed perspective, we have worked to ensure that our staff within the Community Safety Delivery Team have been trained to trauma-informed Tier 1 and Tier 2 awareness. And that was funded through the OPCC, with training delivered by Bernardo's to those staff members. Myself, safeguarding professional, was also funded to attend the National County Lines Coordination Centre training at Surrey Police Headquarters to understand and develop my knowledge of county lines and child exploitation, as this is a key area within serious violence. And we work in partnership with the Safety Centre, I can see Maya's here today, to build a youth diversion offer for those aged 13 to 24, which fit underneath the serious violence duty. And the final slide within this, which was 377 in your pack. We also have a safeguarding element within serious violence duty, and I would say that the strength of our safeguarding work, and the point on there, a strong safeguarding culture, can be seen by the number of safeguarding concerns that have been raised during the last year, with 364 in total, 191 of which were in Buckinghamshire, and the remainder being in the Milton Keynes area. We participate within our safeguarding partnerships, and we also work with the subgroups to ensure that we fulfil all of our duties, including those related to prevent. I'm happy to take any questions. I believe that was quite a lot of information overload there, but all of it is contained within your slides.
Thank you, Angela. Questions?
Thank you for the report. Thank you for the depth of it. What I can't see in them, which might be my failure, is there's no figures showing me what the amount of domestic violence, the amount of whatever in it. It's actually quantify the danger that our firefighters entry. We are here as a partnership of organisations. You also, when it comes to prevent, and county lines, it's they're not the same directly, although they are very important. Our fire fighters are probably some of the people who actually meet people when they're most vulnerable, and anyone who's done anything to prevent. When somebody discloses at that point, that's the point they need to be able to gather that information. They may only do it once. But I can't see any figures in here, and it's worrying because we have to quantify risk. And I think maybe that's something to come in a later document, so that we can see what is the damage in our area, what are the flows of educated for zero flying for comments, lines and which have been adapted and used. So it's not in there. I think it would have been nice to have something about reading the figures so that we could actually quantify the risk, quantify where we stand in it. So our part in it isn't the same as the police. It won't be the same as social services. It won't be the same as the police. I mean, Bucks, the MASH deal with that. I think there's something from Milton Keynes I can't be. I'd just like to see figures, and I understand it then, and I can find my own mind. But we're doing that. We know what it is. We know where it is. We know who's doing what, and you can follow it through. It seems to be there before.
Thank you. I don't know who's best placed to do that. Just in the data. not sure that we are the people that would be holding and presenting that later. I don't think that's our responsibility. This is because of our responsibilities as a partner agency. That should be, I don't know who's best. Do you want to pick up something?
Yeah, just to build on that, I think Joe and I went to the third Violence and Women Girls Conference spoke to us in both police last week. I wouldn't want to misquote their stats. Quite right when you say that it was a significant amount of crime, which is according to domestic violence. So it just reiterates that point to me about confidence and the importance of why we're a proactive partner. And you're absolutely right in terms of the crews that go out. Both the Central Prevention Team and my response crew, they're the ones that are interacting with the community and picking up on these safeguardings. And as Joe pointed out, we're seeing a year-on-year increase in the number of referrals we're making, indicating that our staff are well trained to spot those issues early and make those referrals to protect those people.
We don't recognise that they do, and I think we should talk more about that having a follow. If you really good work they do, the community and people don't recognise it, but it's about showing the value of our service.
Understood. Thank you. Any other questions, comments? No. In which case, members are being asked to note the serious violence duty update 2020. Being asked to note the serious violence duty update. We're going to do so. Thank you very much. Moves us on to item number 21, Safety Centre Impact Report. Can I welcome Mayor Joseph Hussain from the Safety Centre as well? I'll just hand straight over to, I don't know who's going first, is it Mayor or Paul?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'd like to welcome Maya here as well. Very privileged to sort of bring her along because ultimately this is Maya's impact report as well. So she's going to be delivering it. But just to give a bit of context, and the purpose of this report is to provide an update here today regarding the authority's 3-year funding agreement with the Safety Centre. And as hopefully you know, we do fund it on £75,000 over a 3-year term, £25,000 a year. And part of the agreement is for Maya to give us a report on that as well. And Maya is going to be sort of touching on the report about what they sort of value for money for us, and also some forward steps as well. So thank you. Thank you, Lord.
Thank you, Paul. Pleased to be here and thank you for the invitation. And so I'm Maya, I'm the Chief Executive at the Safety Centre charity. We specialise in early intervention and preventative safety education. We're actually celebrating 30 years this year as an organisation. And I just want to take a moment to note that actually Buckinghamshire Fire and Rescue Service were one of our founding partners. And I think it's brilliant to reflect that 30 years later, the partnership is very much in place and I believe has gone from strength to strength. The reason I mention the 30 years is because when we were created, it was very much a collaborative and a partnership approach. We were actually created by yourselves, Thames Valley Police, Network Rail, Coca-Cola Enterprises, a whole host of organisations that recognise the need for this early intervention and preventative education. So when we were created, we were actually the world's first interactive and immersive safety education centre. And over the 30 years, our work has evolved. But in that time frame, actually part of the legacy of the creation of our safety centre is that we then helped create and inspire the creation of safety centres across the UK. And so I just want to make that leap back to Buckinghamshire Fire and Rescue Service. And I recognise that when I'm out talking to colleagues across the UK, but you might not always reflect on that. So I think it's important to go actually, the national movement in effect began with you as partners as well. There are now 10 safety centres across the UK. We also set up the National Safety Centre Alliance, and I chair that alliance nationally. And we come together at least twice a year to look at best practice, learning, insights, emerging themes, to just look at nationally what does that approach look like. Just to share with you, there are some fire and rescue services that own and run some of those centres, and I work quite closely with them. So Cheshire, Gloucestershire and Greater Manchester, within the last year, I've spent a lot of time with them understanding what their prevention strategies are, how they utilise their education centre and what are the programmes they're designing and delivering, and sharing best practice across. And the other two that I need to, my priority to engage with this year are actually West Midlands and Tyne and West. So just in case anybody wasn't aware of the national framework, I thought it important to share that with you today. Just a few highlights from my report. What you hopefully have also seen is that we've actually expanded and grown as an organisation under my leadership. I've led the organisation for 3.5 years now, and we've actually began developing more outreach programmes, because as much as Hazard Alley, the education centre, is incredibly popular, we are fully booked for this academic year, booking into 2025 at the moment, and it has a capacity limit. So actually we're very proud of the fact that we cover the whole of Milton Keynes, the whole of Buckinghamshire and beyond. So we've designed and developed education programmes in a way that actually we have an education team now. They're all teachers by background, whether it's primary or secondary or youth work, and they go out and deliver work for us. So not only have we expanded outside of the centre, we've also expanded who utilises the centre as well. So we've done some work with refugee and newly arrived communities, we've gone into the youth space, and for me it's very important actually everything that we do as an organisation, Hazard Alley and the work outside, actually is a community asset, and my priority is to make sure as much of the community as possible is able to access and utilise that. The other point I want to make is, even though Hazard Alley, the education centre, is located in Milton Keynes, that's just geography. It's just where we happen to be being located for the last 30 years. Actually, we strive to ensure that the whole of the county accesses the education services. So in the report, I've talked about between August 2023 and March 2024, that our education programmes have benefited 7,292 people across Milton Keynes and Buckinghamshire. 2,824 of those have been in Hazard Alley specifically. And to share with you, actually, in Hazard Alley, if we look at the breakdown of those figures, 1,645 of those are from Milton Keynes, but equally 1,179 of them are from the rest of Buckinghamshire. I'm really trying to make that point that actually just because Hazard Alley is in Milton Keynes, it isn't only accessed by Milton Keynes. We've also, we do educate outside of Buckinghamshire. And I think that's very important because actually people commute, socialise, travel, visit Milton Keynes and Buckinghamshire. So actually, if we're delivering safety education to neighbouring counties, I see that as a benefit for this partnership. So I just wanted to make that point as well. We have delivered a range of enhancements in the education centre, which I've put in the report, but also wanted to share that actually there are other ways in which our partnership benefits. So I'm currently in conversations with Oxfordshire Fire and Rescue Service. They are very interested in the way in which we work in partnership with Buckinghamshire Fire and Rescue Service, and they're quite keen to look at how we can maybe model and replicate our partnership with themselves. So there's another ripple effect and impact and value of the partnership that we have. The partnership, actually, I also then talk to funders about, so we're in conversations with national funders around a range of our programmes. So for example, we designed and developed a programme around violence against women and girls, and that's about early intervention and prevention. And I also attended the conference last week. And I came away from that conference thinking there's even more to do as a partnership approach. But it's brilliant. We're piloting that in Milton Keynes, but it isn't just for Milton Keynes. We're talking with contacts at Buckinghamshire Council. We're talking with funders that are based in Buckinghamshire. So actually, how can we expand that programme? And similarly, we've done a huge amount of work around knife crime. I don't think it's an issue that's going away. And I think it's an education piece that needs to continue. So again, the earlier we can educate people, the safer we're building our communities for the future. And the other one that I would just draw your attention to is what we've secured some funding from the Department of Culture, Media and Sport. It's administered by the National Lottery. And ultimately it's about reducing antisocial behaviour. So we've been funded to deliver some youth work specifically in Milton Keynes for that. But equally, that enables us to go and have conversations with wider partners about what we're doing. And my final point is to say, actually, as an organisation, as a safety centre, we're here, we are pioneering, we're evolving, we're really looking at what some of those emerging safety needs are. That's only possible because of the partnership approach and support we have. We rely on the partnership from Buckinghamshire Fire and Rescue Service in the same way that we work with Thames Valley Police and other partners. So for us, the partnership is incredible. It's multi-layered. It's not just the financial transaction. The finance is absolutely important and critical, but actually the partnership approach, the ability to work with Simon and Paul and Joe and look at emerging themes, looking at how we can evolve, is equally important for us as well. Happy to take any questions, and Paul, I don't know if there's anything you'd like to add.
No, thanks, Miles. If that's okay, can I just add a couple of bits about what we're doing actually internally? We're just reviewing within our own prevention team to look at the next steps around this partnership, to have a look at this a bit more holistically around this funding agreement. And that's going to be around early intervention. So we're looking to repurpose some of our roles at the minute. So it's new news. So I've got nothing to sort of provide any evidence on yet, but that's what we're looking to do. Thank you.
Councillor Banks.
Yeah. I've gone past the safety centre several times since living in Milton Keynes. I wondered what it was all about. And so I decided one day with a couple of my colleagues to visit, which now what I call it Hazard Alleys, is more appropriate. And I was blown away with the quality of the education and the way the children were absolutely fascinated by the interaction with various facilities in the Hazard Alley area. But I was just wondering, if anyone in this room has an opportunity to visit, is it possible? You mentioned that the place is fully booked, so I imagine that it's open all the time and fully booked. But I think we should encourage members of this committee to take a chance and have a look, because it is an absolutely fascinating.
So, sorry, just to interrupt there. So it's a very well made point. Actually, as it happens, we had a fire authority visit planned, I think, last year, which we had to abort at the last minute. So it seemed to clash unexpectedly with a visit from a politician. So if we can, I think it'd be really good to rearrange that visit, because I know we'd very much like. So I definitely think some members, certainly from Buckinghamshire, who've not been along.
I think you probably won't be able to visit with their children. Is that right?
Well, you can. So we do have visitors when there are children on site. We just ensure we engage with the school in advance. And then we just, if it was a big group of people, we just break you up into smaller groups and take you around. And I'd certainly welcome everybody. I think it's one of those places you need to see it, to experience it. And when I joined the safety centre, we were in the midst of the pandemic. So for the first 6 months of my time in leadership, actually it was all just theory, because schools were in lockdown, they weren't visiting. So actually it was very poignant for me when schools began returning after the pandemic to see that light bulb moment. And also last summer we ran a youth project in Hazard Alley for 1,000 young people, and they were aged 16 to 17. And we did that in partnership with another organisation. And there was a part of me that wondered whether they would walk into that space and go, it's not real, you know. But actually, they had the same reaction as some of those younger people had. So it's incredibly powerful.
You might not be able to, can I just follow that up? You might not be able to answer this question, and that is quite prevention is better than trying to cure the problem. And I think what I'd like to know is, I was wondering whether there's been any assessment on the impact of Hazard Alley on the incidence of knife crime, or in fact crime generally, for those people in Tim.
I can partly answer that question. So I don't have the data, so I'll get this data for you, but Thames Valley Police have actually done some analysis. So they've worked with a number of partners on education programmes, including knife crime. So they've done an assessment around what's been the impact of that. So I will certainly get hold of some of that data and via Kate and share that back to be shared with this. So there is some of that data. The other piece of work that we're doing actually is with the Open University. Well, it's with a research fellow from the Open University, Richard Harding. So we began a piece of work around actually how can we better measure the short, medium and longer term impact around all of our education programmes. So what happens in Hazard Alley and also some of the outreach work. And in fact, on Monday, I was at the Open University. It was a workshop around violence against women and girls online. So there's a programme around that. And again, in that, we were also discussing the importance of measurement. So there's a few strands of conversations I'm exploring, because equally I believe we need to get stronger at that as well.
Thank you, Councillor Stubbs.
Actually, thank you so much for the positive work you're doing. And if you look to, I think it's page 8389, it only shows truly what you are doing when you've got, was it 98,000 pounds with support Ireland just with the girls, which coincidentally Buckinghamshire Council, that motion we took forward amended and agreed in majority to actually do some work on that there. It's also noted in your report that you've secured nearly £100,000 for knife crime. This is all very laudable. You've got that from the. But what I can't do in this, and the other part is that RRG is a comparable comparison of what you're doing in Bucks. It might be I haven't seen it. The work that's going on in Milton Keynes in this project, you say is for all of Hampshire. I live in Buckingham, it might be something that people from not that far away benefit from. So this is such a good project. We ought to try to encourage similar things to roll out across Buckinghamshire, because there's problems in Wickham, Aylesbury and South Buckinghamshire. Comparable problems are the same wherever they are. Populations are similar. So thank you again for that. But I am really impressed with how you managed to raise such an amount of money there. Actually, going that is really good. We should be admired for. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any connections you can help us make? Absolutely, I agree with you. The education programmes need to benefit the whole of the county. I didn't list all of our funders in here. We did also have money from Heart of Books Community Foundation. So we did a huge amount of work in Buckinghamshire, excluding Milton Keynes. They were funded separately. But the Heart of Books funded us to do some knife crime prevention work in schools across Buckinghamshire as well. And we're busy lobbying lots of funders and partners, because equally I want to expand some of these programmes as well.
Thank you, Chair. You are doing a fascinating job. I visited twice your place, very nice. I visit one time during my mayor times and I visit again because you do a great job for our community. Just have a question in terms of knife crimes. The demographic of Milton Keynes knife crimes in certain area, in terms of ethnicity of the knife crime involved with young people, are from, I would say that South Asian and probably, some in Nigeria, other communities involved a lot. In terms of you engaging, you said you want to work with other people, which I welcome that. I work with a lot of young people, and I even asked them, why do you carry a knife? They said, I carry a knife to defend myself. Well, how can you defend yourself if you carry a knife with you? And, those kind of community we need to engage. Places like, CFK, we see high rates of knife crime, but slowly it's going down now. But in terms of you working with them, I urge you to work with those communities, such as Somalian community, other communities. Those young people are, disfranchised, probably educate them to get away from the knife culture.
Yes, absolutely. I want to tackle this knife culture and these misconceptions. So we have been funded over the last 2 years by different partners to deliver knife crime intervention and prevention workshops in schools across the whole of Milton Keynes. And we very much took approach that the education programme is for everybody. Similar to violence against women and girls, I'm often asked, is that programme only for girls? And actually our programme's for everybody. It's the same with knife crime, it's for everybody. Sometimes when an incident happens, we might be surprised by the demographic. And actually what we can't as a society make any assumptions that knife crime, as an example, will only ever impact this element of the community. It's far more complex than that and multifaceted. And through our education programs, we dispel myths. So I go along and observe my team delivering these, but it's my opportunity to speak firsthand and hear firsthand from young people. And I find there's a few things that alarm me that are here. We tackle some of this. One, that what the point you've just touched on, that if I carry a knife, I'm safer in some way. Actually, we dispel that myth. Actually, the risk is far greater if you've been involved. Another myth is that, well, if I happen to be out with my friends and they're carrying weapons, you know, there's no consequences for me. So we talk about the bystander role in that and the consequences around that. And the other one that really alarms me is that some young people think there's a safe place to stab somebody on the body. So if you stab them in the arm or the thigh or the buttock, it's not fatal. And actually, I've listened to a surgeon from an AE department describe actually the number of young people he's lost who have been stabbed in the buttock. So we really look at dispelling some of those myths. And for me, actually, all of our education programs, when they're designed, young people are involved in that design process. I believe that's very much part of the collaboration. But yeah, absolutely, any more we can do, I welcome that.
Thank you. Very compelling presentation. Thank you. Councillor McConnell.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Maya. Looking down the list of the beneficiaries of safety education, talks about adults with special educational needs. There's also the people who haven't got special education as the older, as a member of the older population now, via safety visits. Have you thought about reaching out to an organisation that gives general support to the ageing population?
Yes, absolutely, Keith. We have begun conversation with lots of partner organisations because we want far more people using Hazard Alley. So in term time, it's fully booked by schools, but actually it's open and available all year round. So my centre team have begun conversation with lots of organisations. They've begun conversation with Age UK, community groups, other charities, and we're open to that dialogue, because again, it comes back to that point that I made earlier, it's a community asset, and we want as many people as possible. An example of that is we've recently engaged, there's a group of midwives that want to come and run some of their provision in Hazard Alley and want to hire that out. Absolutely, there's times when they can use that. Oxford Brookes paramedic students last week hired it on a Friday, Saturday and Sunday for their simulation. So absolutely, and I think a lot of those themes that we cover in there can benefit adults. So I want to be looking at how we can do more of that, and we began that process, but very keen to link in.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Members being asked to note the report, please. Thank you very much. Moves us on to the normal performance management report. I think we've got Craig online.
Oh, good morning all. Can you see me? I'm guessing not.
We can't see you yet.
There we go. Okay, so for the benefit, I'll say good morning, it's good afternoon, apologies. For the benefit of those that don't know me, my name's Craig Newman. My role is the Data Intelligence Team Manager. One of my many privileges of being in my role is I am able to present a performance report to the Fire Authority every quarter. This report consists of nearly 70 measures in which we try to provide a holistic and transparent view of how the service is performing. This includes different types of measures such as inputs, outputs, and outcomes. Where possible and appropriate, we have provided supporting commentary to certain measures, which we hope answer some of the questions you may have. With that in mind, I'm pleased to present the Q4 Performance Management Report for 23-24. While the format of this report has remained the same as previous quarters, some of the commentary does refer to the year's performance as well as the Q4. As in previous reports, we have provided a couple of highlighted measures at the beginning of the report, namely false alarms in the home and our bank shift costs. False alarms in the home has been highlighted due to the significant numbers attended, as well as the increase in numbers. As mentioned in the commentary, our prevention team are currently working on a plan to improve those numbers. Bank shift costs were highlighted as yet another success story to come from being fully established. This, coupled with the great work our organisational development team and training team have been undertaking to ensure our crews have the relevant skills, has resulted in the service needing to utilise our bank facility much less, as mentioned by Mark earlier in the meeting. While I can always talk for ages about the measures, I will stop myself there and just open the room up to any questions you may have.
Councillor Walsh.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll go straight to my question. Two questions, Craig. One was on the page 423 of the pack. Hydrant availability. I know it's a recurring question, but is there any updated progress on how we can start to record this metric? And the second question of mine is on page 421 of the pack, which is R3.34 on the response model. I was pleased at our previous fire authority meeting that we were making some progress with on-call pump availability, but it seems to have slipped back in that. I'd like to know what place to try and improve more about the pumps online. Thank you.
Okay, the hydrant one I'll pick up first. That we knew this was going to be a problem this year. We had long-term sickness from the manager of that area. He's now back. We're also procuring a new system that allows us to measure that better. So rather than bring you one quarter and then completely change it the following quarter, that new system's come into place. So we will see some numbers on that shortly. The second question, I'm sorry, the sound broke down. I think you were asking about on-call availability and the decrease in that. I can't answer it specifically. It's broad across lots of different appliances. I know we've currently got a new section of recruits, which I'm sure Simon Tuffley will be able to answer in relation to the on-call recruitment process. We did struggle a bit initially due to the fact that most of our priority was on whole time, but there is a plan in place now for the on-call, which I don't know if Simon wants to elaborate on.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Craig. Yeah, absolutely. The last couple of years, the focus has been on whole-time recruitment and raising that establishment. Now that we have achieved that area and sustaining that area, this year's focus is very much on the on-call. So we've done one recruitment process already this year, and we've got a team going forward through their training, for their VA training. Previous paper around the transformation funding is really going to help us now, because that will enable us to put an additional VA course on, which is kind of a key bit of training for those recruits. So we can start recruiting twice a year and get into a good rhythm of the students on the whole. So it is an area of focus for us. It's a move we want to build upon.
One thing I would add to that as well is part of the CRMP, we did a lot of resource modelling, so we understand the benefits that each on-call appliance would provide and where we would prioritise our recruitment. We also understand the challenges in those areas as well, whereas, for example, Wickham, you'd have a pool of over 40,000 to recruit from. In the more rural areas, that can drop to as low as 500 that could respond to that appliance as quickly as we'd need them to. So we factored all that in, and that is part of the recruitment process that's being driven.
Thank you, Councillor Hall.
Thank you, Chairman. Page 421-203. Really good result on the availability there the whole time. We're up to 12 available appliances. That's a really good news story, and it showed the resources that we've put in are really paying dividends. However, over the page at 2.05 on the over the border mobilisations, they seem to have gone into the red and amber. I'm not quite sure why. I know the overall incidents have gone up as well. I mean, is this because the control room are just mobilising over the border rather than their own available appliances? I don't know.
Yeah, I can take that one again. So all mobilisations are based on quickest is quickest. If the over the border appliance is will be the quickest, that's who will mobilise. We could have 40 appliances available. Ready to go, and we would still mobilise over the border above 9 or 10% of the mobilisations purely based on geography. If you look at the south of the county mainly, we have 3 over the border stations right on our border, which have really quick access into our grounds. So and there's also the motorways as well. So if you have any incident on the motorway, you've got a minimum of three appliances being mobilised, and it just is the location of that geography. It's something we do monitor closely, and while the numbers have gone up, it doesn't correlate to the cost. So we pay, when it comes to Thames Valley, we pay on time usage, not the number of mobilisations. It's just quicker to report in this report at the number of mobilisations. So the costs were down off the top of my head, I wouldn't, but it was significantly more than 100,000 based on the previous year, less cost. So while the numbers might have gone up, it is actually still a good news story.
I do recall the conversation, and I can't remember how I had it, it might be you, Mark, where one of the things that we were testing is there an approach where, you know, if an appliance from within Bucks could respond within 5 seconds later than that one out of the border, but actually there wasn't any threat to life, particularly where it was a non-serious incident like a bin fire or something, which would, I think, it seems to me, be something just worth going back around again. Did we get anywhere with that bit of work, I was thinking?
Tolerance level, wasn't it? The short answer is we haven't progressed that work yet. The point, but it's definitely on the list of things to do. But we do need to look at tolerance. We want to have a look at data to see if it would make that real difference in some of those areas where you're getting a response from the border, but actually, how much of a benefit is it?
Yeah, and there was a seriousness layer applied to it as well, which I think says well. I just think it would be worth, you know, to Councillor's point, I think it's worth just looking at it. You know, it is a big number, and I was just looking at the other number, which is the out of our grounds into there, which obviously is lower. So yeah, if we could perhaps bring that to a future exec just to look at that, that'd be good. Any other questions on sorry, I'll start with Councillor O'Neill.
Two very quick questions actually. One is on page 396, so the ones in the home, and it's just whether there is any kind of breakdown of the demography of that, and whether is there a group of people that are more likely to kind of have false alarms in the home, and if that is the case, is there scope of partnership working around that? And then secondly was on mandatory e-learning. I'm just wondering what happened in August and September, because obviously it was green and went amber, and it's been red ever since, and whether there's a risk around the e-learning being red. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll take false alarms in the home first. I believe there's a breakdown in the report of what those false alarms in the home are. I've been working with our service delivery team, so that'll be in front of you, Paul and Simon, and how we're going to reduce that work with our marketing and comms department. A lot of it is due to human behaviour in the home. We've always advised if you think there's a fire, get out and stay out and call us. We would still obviously advise that, but it's how we work with those communities to ensure that smoke detectors are in the appropriate place so that doesn't happen, and all those sort of things. So that is in hand, and there is a planning being put together as we speak to reduce those. The second part of the question was about mandatory e-learning. I can't say why it dropped in July and August. I could hazard a guess, but I won't. It's the only thing I would say is near that measure, we have a measure about appraisals, and we changed the way we encouraged our management team to complete the appraisals. That is now being that same system is now being adopted by the organisation development team. So you should see that achieve much higher scores this year, as in the same impact that it had for the PDPs last year.
Thank you, Councillor Bailey.
Can I question whether or not we could have some additional data around attendance times? I can see obviously the usefulness in having your average attendance time for an instance. However, I think it would be interesting to know how many responses took over 10 minutes, for example. If that was a rural area, you can understand it takes longer to get to that. But if it was a new development in Milton Keynes, for example, where the crews couldn't find the address, that would be concerning and that would be interesting to scrutinise further.
Just before I hand to I think just as a general point, obviously members that have been on the authority for a while got used to the reporting. New members, if there are things that you with fresh eyes think are missing, I know Craig would view that as helpful just to say, if there are reasons why we're not reporting so good, please do feel free to do that. Craig?
Yeah, so while we can provide that, it does open a lot of questions when we do it. For example, there are incidents that sometimes take a lot longer than 10 minutes, sometimes longer than 20 minutes. There are things associated with that. So whether it be we just get a call where we think there's a fire and we might have to go up and down the motorway looking for a fire on the side of a road that never even existed. And they're the sort of things that we would then have to explain each time. At the end of each year, we do run a report that highlights those type of things, and we look at the different type of instance and how long we got to those type of instance based on what we thought the incident was at the time of the call, because that affects what we send. So we by all means we can do that. The one thing I find that would probably be the most beneficial is part of that report, and I can always bring that to this room, is we break down the county into square miles, and then what we would do with that is give you a highlighted colour code that says on average to this location what was our average attendance time. So it takes away the need for it doesn't matter what the incident type was, just how long can you expect us to get to you wherever you live in the county. I don't know if that would be beneficial as well.
Thank you. I think if that could be looked at annually, that sounds fine.
Okay, great, thank you. Just final point for me. I always think it's worth with these documents, which I know was a huge amount of work a couple of years ago to put in place, to think about the impact. And I was looking at the home fire safety visit numbers, which was probably one of the very first things that this report exposed and challenged, and I seem to be smiling. It's just great to see the blue and green through the work there. So and it just shows this is an important document. It's shown light on something we worked on it. So well done. We have to make the performance report. Oh, it's not very keen. Sorry.
Going back to the on-call situation, we've got the recruits, it's 13 recruits. Does that take into account serving officers from our service and perhaps others who become members of an on-call team? I am thinking obviously only so that helps to get the pump on the run. It's the 13 brand new recruits.
I'm going to say they are, yeah. I think they're new recruits because they started from their basic training. If somebody had come across from a full-time contract as a competent firefighter wants to be on call, then they wouldn't be on that training program. So I'll say yes, those 13 are brand new.
Basically, we're up in the numbers with broad recruits and bringing people in. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, happy to note the report. Very good. Thank you. Moves us on to the HMI CFRS update. Let's go straight over to Anne-Marie.
Thank you. And good afternoon, everyone. In October 2023, Buckinghamshire Fire and Rescue Service received its 2023 to 2025 Round 3 HMIC FRS inspection report. The report detailed 3 causes of concern focused on prevention, protection, and EDI. The report was presented to an extraordinary fire authority on the 24th of October with input from HMI Royal Wiltshire. HMIC FRS action plan was developed and submitted to HMIC FRS on the 15th of November and presented to the fire authority on the 5th of December. This report shows the progress against that action plan. Since this report was produced, 3 more actions have now been completed, 2 in protection and in 1 EDI, which has reduced the risk of progress in the first section. To review the progress against the cause of concern, HMIC FRS completed a revisit to the service in week commencing the 20th of May. The revisit included interviews, desktop reviews, and a station visit interacting with a wide range of staff. Initial feedback has been positive, and they saw the progress the service has made against the causes of concern. They found all of our staff engaging throughout the process, and I'd like to say thank you to all of the staff that supported that visit. HMIC FRS have made the decision to not publish the outcome letters until after the general election, so we hope to get ours in mid-July. In November 23, HMIC FRS informed the service that we would be entering the supportive engage process. The focus of the engage process is to assist us in finding ways to improve and resolve the identified causes of concern and provide a better service for the public. As part of the engage process, we're invited to share an update on our progress for the performance oversight, also known as EPOG. As the chairman mentioned in the chairman's announcement, last week, the chief chairman and DCFO presented our progress to EPOG. The initial feedback was that we are doing well, our plan was focused and had good support from the leadership team and the fire authority. They were pleased to see we were making sure all our changes were embedded and also reviewing the outcomes or the so what for both our staff and the community we serve. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to take any questions.
For the work you're doing, important. Those commenting about the letter not coming to after the 4th of July. Please can I request that if there is a letter that we all see that please risk people to basically checking because you can't predict that we up to the letter. It's a big body of work you have to undertake. You're working your way through it, which is incredible, but we aren't finished the journey. So I think at some point this will probably come back with chair to an audit committee to be reviewed as a progress report, which would see sense or not with the monitoring our progression through the stage that we're clearly having to go through.
Yeah, just to clarify for new members as well, that the authority agreed last year that the action plan would be overseen by the review audit. So it's absolutely the responsibility of everything we're we asked it to go to all bodies so we can understand and it is and has to go to them. Any other comments, questions? Okay, in case you've been asked to note the report, happy to do so. Really, thank you very much. If I can move to item number 24, exclusion of the public and press. To consider excluding the public and press representatives from the meeting by virtue of paragraph 1 of part 1 of the Schedule 12 of the Local Government Act 1972, as the report contains information relating to any individual. Paragraph 3 of part 1 of Schedule 12 of the Local Government Act 1972, as the report and minutes contain information relating to the financial or business affairs of a person, including the authority, and on these grounds it's considered the need to keep information exempt outweighs the public interest of disclosing it. So, agreed.
It all got there.
Okay,